He's the guru behind the wildly popular fitness craze that swept America, Bikram Yoga. Drawing in millions of women looking for that perfect body, it became the workout rage of the rich and famous. Even A-list celebs from Beyonce to Madonna to Giselle became disciples.
The list goes on and on.
And it's all the brainchild of this man, the ultra-ripped and fabulously wealthy founder, Bikram Choudhury.
The most important thing in your life is your life.
But behind his fancy car collection, Beverly Hills mansion, and the walls of his $80 million exercise empire, the charismatic leader is now being called a monster, hiding a dirty, depraved secret.
You had female staff perform oral sex on you at headquarters, right, Mr. Choudhury?
The world-renowned Bollywood yogi caught with his Speedo down.
You pulled down your pants and you shoved your penis in her face. Did you do that?
And his fall from grace to disgrace is a mirror image of the sex scandal that's ensnared Hollywood movie mogul Harvey Weinstein.
He had told them he would make them famous if they slept with him.
The so-called holy man would be accused of raping, sexually assaulting, and brainwashing his unsuspecting prey.
The more powerful he got, the kind of more controlling he got, and dangerous he got.
And one of his alleged victims, the attorney the sex-crazed yogi brought in to protect his mighty empire until she became his target too.
He got under the covers and crawled into bed and motioned for me to come over and to sit with him.
Now she's sitting down with Crime Watch Daily, spilling many of these sordid, disgusting details.
I've seen it with my own eyes in training. I've seen him being massaged by 3 women trainees around him with the lights dimmed.
Allegedly all going down while he was reigning over his $80 million yoga empire like a crazed, despotic cult leader.
It's run very much like a cult.
He would tell me that he was God.
He called himself a little Buddha.
Bikram's American dream all started when he moved from India into a little basement in ritzy Beverly Hills with the idea of introducing a new westernized kind of yoga to the rich and famous.
He's a spiritual yogi who's ripped, and he's teaching these classes in Beverly Hills, and of course the Hollywood elite stumbles on him.
Becoming instant devotees of the pint-sized, nearly naked yogi.
The guy's in a Speedo, and looks like an articulated anatomical diagram. His every single muscle is spread out and rippling.
Benjamin Lure, author of the book Hellbent, which infiltrates Bikram's private world, says he walks the walk and talks the talk of a genuine Indian mystic.
He called himself a little Buddha. He said he had never had sex. He was a virgin. He didn't have much money. He was renting out of a very small, modest studio space.
And the technique he calls Bikram Yoga is actually credited with healing the injury-ravaged body of basketball legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
He was clearly a very devoted follower of Bikram Yoga, and his son became a teacher. So many of the big teachers today took classes from him and have incorporated his yoga into their routines.
Before long, Bikram Yoga is a multi-million-dollar international brand attracting hundreds of devotees at a time to studios and luxurious tropical retreats he'd established around the world.
Everywhere from Morocco to India to Hong Kong to Beijing. It is a global movement.
Bikram is also making special appearances at venues packed to capacity with 500 attendees a session for 9 weeks at a time.
We're talking about, marquee hotels like, the Hilton in Vegas and hotels in LA and Palm Springs and Acapulco and Hawaii.
Bikram has a simple formula for success.
The one thing you should know about Bikram Yoga classes is they're identical. Same class everywhere.
Like a fast food chain.
Bikram, of course, refers to this as the McDonald'sization of yoga, and he says that proudly because McDonald's refers to a uniform product.
And Bikram is a kind of Ronald McDonald face of the franchise. With his signature tiny Speedo and big personality.
He's got his patter down like a Vegas lounge act, and it's flawless.
My read on him was that he was slightly eccentric.
He's also an incredible entertainer. He's very performative. He's quite funny. He's over the top.
And the charismatic little yogi becomes a godlike figure to thousands of young followers, many paying $15,000 a pop to become licensed Bikram Yoga instructors.
And his trainings filled up with people who wanted to call him guru, and they wanted him to possess magic powers. And suddenly he starts adapting to that vision of him.
Dishing out spontaneous doses of spiritual wisdom on social media.
What's the meaning of life? Yourself. Your life? Your life. What's the most important thing in your life is your life.
Devotees hang on every word that falls from the mouth of their enlightened master.
If you survive, then everything will be more important in your life tomorrow. If you die tonight, you will never see tomorrow again.
But that vow of poverty Bikram had once taken no longer holds up. Not with an estimated net worth of $80 million, a Beverly Hills mansion, and a fleet of more than 40 luxury cars, including Rolls-Royces, Bentleys, and Ferraris.
He is obsessed with money and wealth.
As for his vow of celibacy, well, Bikram's apparently renounced that too, and is now married with children after reportedly importing wife Rajeshri from his native India as a child bride.
His wife came to America, I think, when she was 17, 18. It was an arranged marriage.
But one woman is apparently not enough for Bikram, who's alleged to be as obsessed with sex as he is with fame and fortune.
The more powerful he got, the kind of more controlling he got, and dangerous he got.
Fame, wealth, and the adoration of millions of disciples had allegedly gone to the head of the little Indian yogi in the tiny Speedo.
He thinks he is invincible and he is above the law and nobody can touch him, that he was God.
But karma was about to cut Bikram Choudhury back down to size. Leaving the yoga guru to Hollywood's rich and famous, being branded a kind of Harvey Weinstein mini-me. Accused of sexually preying on women employees of his $80 million empire.
Who went like lambs to the slaughter, not having a clue about what they were getting themselves in for.
He told them that he would make them famous if they slept with him.
Ironically, this Pandora's box of dirty little secrets would be opened by a trainee yoga instructor named Pandora Williams, who sues Bikram for racial discrimination, claiming she was fired after objecting to one of his many alleged homophobic and racist rants.
Said, why are you preaching hate? You should be teaching love. I mean, this is yoga. And he just turned on her and used, foul, offensive, racist language,
What did he say to her? Can you tell us?
Something along the lines of, we don't sell love here, you black, B-I-T-C-H. And he then instructed his assistant to get the black, B-I-T-C-H, out of training.
And Pandora's attorney, Carla Menard, is out to finally expose Bikram.
It really needed a public airing. This kind of abuse and this kind of megalomania run amok.
Bikram hires his own top-flight attorney, Mickey Jafa-Bodden, to protect his empire.
When that lawsuit hit, Bikram's demeanor and his attitude and his behavior and his language and all of that just erupted.
And Mickey says she soon discovers the yogi's alleged sins extend beyond homophobia and racism to harassment, intimidation, sexual assault, and even rape.
I was actually expecting a number of lawsuits to come down the pipeline, and I had warned Bikram and his other attorneys about them.
But she says the yogi in the Speedo only becomes more cocky.
He stood up on the stage and said, my lawyer is telling me that I can't be alone with women. I can't have girls coming up to my suite at night. You know what? I'm not going to have one girl. I'm going to now have two.
Just as Mickey had predicted, Bikram would be slapped with 5 more lawsuits filed by other women employees. combining to paint a portrait of a power-drunk tyrant allegedly using cult-like tactics of intimidation, sleep deprivation, and mind control to condition his prey.
Do you think that the sleep deprivation and the way he operates is to break them down mentally and emotionally?
He creates his own reality. And part of that is the sleep deprivation and what I call the torture. He refers to it as the Bikram torture chamber.
It allegedly includes yoga trainees being forced to spend endless nights sitting at the master's feet.
There was one who reported falling asleep and having him grope her.
Author Benjamin Lohr infiltrated Bikram's House of Horrors for his book Hellbent, paying around $15,000 to pose as a trainee yoga instructor and investigate employees' shocking allegations.
I had women who would tell me they had been raped by him.
And Mickey says Bikram would carefully groom his prey.
He will have favorites and then he will completely brainwash them as well. So it will begin at the Bikram Yoga studios well before these young girls apply to come and be Bikram Yoga teachers.
Mickey claims she's actually witnessed Bikram fooling around with those favorite trainees.
I once walked in to his office and there was a woman massaging his feet and his thighs, now partially obscured by his desk, and he had a towel over his lap, but it was pretty clear to me what was going on.
Another employee would say in a deposition that she witnessed a similar incident when Bikram took a young trainee along on a business trip to New York.
As they were sitting in this limousine, she looked across and saw the young woman's head in Bikram's lap, and he covered her with a ski jacket. And it was very clear from her testimony, and she indicated he was receiving either oral sex or being by this young woman.
The witness testified that Bikram even had the nerve to complain.
When apparently the young woman wasn't servicing him in a way that he appreciated, he said, "What the are you doing? Did God give you one hand or two?"
Mickey says she was constantly dealing with disturbing complaints by trainees.
There is another woman who reports that Bikram's family, his wife and children, on this occasion in his home, went upstairs to sleep, and Bikram then forced her sexually, raped her basically in his living room on the couch.
But Mickey says Bikram did most of his dirty work in a special hotel sugar suite he kept in Beverly Hills.
Just easier for him to force trainees to give him massages and, I dare say, force women into unwanted, sex with him. Some evidence came forward regarding a young girl who was seen running from Bikram's suite, crying with her shoes in her hand.
Mickey claims Bikram even made a move on her after summoning her to his sugar suite for a supposed business meeting.
He got under the covers and crawled into bed and motioned for me to come over and to sit with him.
That would turn out to be the biggest mistake Bikram ever made.
That, to me, was extremely unnerving and peculiar. And I had also reached a point in my own personal journey with Bikram where he had pushed too many of my buttons.
You had female staff perform oral sex on you at headquarters, right, Mr. Choudhury?
Attorney Mickey Jafa-Bodden says she was horrified by what she discovered after being hired by Bikram to take care of legal matters related to his business.
It's not a dream or a fantasy.
And when Bikram allegedly hit on Mickey too, she came to believe that everything his trainees were claiming about him in 6 separate lawsuits was sadly true.
This is stuff that's actually going on in one of the biggest yoga movements on the planet.
But Mickey says the defiant little yogi remains unrepentant.
Bikram went into full denial mode. His fallback position was basically to say that it was consensual.
And Bikram would publicly scoff at the women's accusations with some astoundingly arrogant declarations.
He talks about one drop of his sperm being worth $1 million. I don't need to rape women because there's a line around the block. And he stood up in a room full of trainees and said, maybe I should rape more girls because look, it's good for business.
But it turns out it's not, and Mickey takes the fall.
I was experiencing a great deal of, harassment from Bikram and retaliation, so on and so forth, and I got forced to resign.
So Mickey slaps the yogi with lawsuit number 7, alleging wrongful dismissal and sexual harassment, as well as other charges. And this one isn't going to be settled out of court once Mickey hires Carla Menard, the same attorney who represented yoga trainee Pandora Williams, the first employee to sue Bikram.
I said, I won't represent you unless you are willing to take this to and through verdict. She said, absolutely, I'm willing to do that.
Now Carla gets to put Bikram in the hot seat.
Nikki Java actually attempted to investigate those allegations of rape and sexual assault, and you fired her in retaliation for that. Isn't that correct, Mr. Choudhury?
I'm going to object to that it's an attorney-client communication.
And for the first time, Bikram has to respond in a videotaped deposition to charges that had been made against him, not just by Mickey, but many other women employees.
You tried to put your hands inside of Miss Lawler's pants during teacher training, isn't that right?
Bikram would either deny the accusations or simply refuse to answer Carla's questions on the advice of his attorneys.
Miss Lawler says that you walked over to where she was sitting on a couch, you pulled down your pants, and you shoved your penis in her face. Did you do that?
I take fifth note to answer the question.
But the merciless grilling continues.
Did you tell Miss Lawler while you were having sex with her, did you demand that she say, Bikram, you're the best, I want to all night long? You also took women into the sound closet at headquarters and had them perform sexual acts on you, correct?
Vague, and I'm going to instruct you to take your Fifth Amendment privilege.
Ms. Capizzi says you ordered a girl to go underneath your desk in your office while you were sitting at your desk in your chair at headquarters. Is that true? You groped and grabbed Ms. Capizzi's buttocks from behind. Isn't that right, Mr. Choudhury?
The yogi's alleged foul deeds and words portray him as a crude and dangerous male chauvinist